It has been a while since the last time that we did a video together, and I know you've been up to a lot of different things. So what have you been up to since the last time we did a video? And I heard that you're doing some sort of a bodybuilding show or something like that.
Yeah, so last time it's probably been 6 months ago, probably last time I was on the channel. And then now I've really been on contest prep. I think really right when I was on the channel, I started my contest prep probably a month after that. So that's been one of my main focuses, as well as just trying to grow my channel. I got a podcast up and going right after I was on your podcast. And then, just really trying to grow everything, my website, trying to hit it from all angles. That's really what I've been doing. I've been doing some live streams. Actually, what's really cool is I'll be getting a guide dog probably within 6 months. So that's going to be really, really cool content, and I'm really excited. I love dogs. So I already I have Cooper, he's a pet. I couldn't get him trained, but I'm going to be getting a guide dog probably within 6 months. So, but
Nice.
right now I'm like Wednesday, so I'm exactly 3.5 weeks out from my first competition. So
Nice. That's exciting, man. So how difficult is it preparing for a physique show or bodybuilding show when you're not able to see your actual physique?
So when I started this all, and I'm really knowledgeable about actually training and exercise and even the diet aspect, and what I needed to do. And one of the things that I've learned so far that's been the biggest struggle for me is I've never been 167 pounds and had this much muscle. And I've never, when I started at 187 pounds, and I've never weighed that before. I've never seen myself weigh that before. And for me, the hardest thing is I've seen a few videos, like before I lost my sight, of people competing. I've seen pictures of guys competition ready. But the hardest thing, and it's more of a mental battle for me, is, and I'm really this past week it's been really tough, is that I can't see my physique. I have 10 different people telling me 10 different things. I got,
Right.
some guys saying you're exactly on point. I got some guys saying, yeah, you're good. You just got to dehydrate. I got all these different people telling me, and I can't look in the mirror and I can't see exactly what I look like compared to, I've even got my stepmom and my dad to look at videos on YouTube of people that are 4 weeks out, and so how do they look compared to me? And I try to get them, but I'm going off of someone else's word, so I can't I don't know what I look like. That's the biggest struggle. I don't know because when it comes to competing, when it comes to doing anything, I like to do it, I like to go in, I'm going to win, but I like to do it the best I can possibly do it. So it's like,
Right.
That's the biggest struggle. I really don't know how my physique looks. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and so you're kind of depending on other people's subjective idea of how you look compared to other people that you know look good on stage.
Yeah, and I have to filter, this goes for just about anything when you get opinions from people, whether you can see or you can't see, but you have to filter out where you're getting this information. Some people's going to be reliable, some people's obvious, and I'm not knocking people on my channel, but a lot of people say, man, you're really shredded, you look really lean. But there's a difference between looking lean and looking bodybuilding contest lean. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
that's why, because I know people say, man, you look really good, and it's not I know I look good as far as, if someone was, I want to just get in shape for summer, I know I'm to that point. That's not a question. It's how do I compare to other bodybuilders on stage, and that's the thing that I still don't know too much, but I've gotten some good feedback from some people.
So how do you decide on what part of your body that you want to improve on? What's the process?
Okay, so I do have some people that kind of helps me with posing, and like I said, I got my stepmom and my dad to kind of look at other people and just see. I mean, I feel pretty well balanced in all honesty, but really the way I do it is I just feel 6 months ago, in January, February, I noticed that my left, and of course we're not going to be perfectly symmetrical. It's impossible to be perfect. But I would
Right.
feel my left arm and I'd feel my right arm, and I still do this in the gym. I do that. I just feel my body, and I can tell a difference. I could tell my left bicep was a little bit. I could just tell it's actually the outside the long head, and I could just tell it just needed a little bit of work. So I just really feel feel around and just find out what needs to be improved on. So
It's really interesting.
All about feel.
It's probably something that a lot of sight bodybuilders take for granted, is the ability to grab yourself and actually feel the difference in left side to right side, or just the general differences in the muscles and how big they are.
And it does, like, it works. It works really well. Like, I can, especially with my arms, like, as far as everything else, I'm pretty good. But my left side is my weak side, just because I guess it's my dominant side. So that's, but I can just, you can. I mean, if someone that could see, if they close their eyes, and I mean, I do it all the time, like every day in the gym when I'm exercising, when I'm, it's like I just feel it to just make sure I'm doing things right. If I do it with one arm or one leg, or, I can feel it, and you'd be surprised. It works really well. Like it's almost as good as seeing it.
Maybe that's a technique that people who do see should be able to use, as well as like looking at their physique, because I think that's another dimension of knowing how your physique is.
Mm-hmm. It's a secret. Shh.
It's my secret.
Don't let anybody know. It's a secret.
The secret's out now.
I know, yeah.
Man, that's really awesome. I'm really pumped for you to do the contest. I can't wait to see the footage from then.
I know, it's gonna be really. I'm excited. I'm like I said, like, the biggest struggle is the mental battle for me. It's not necessarily training, but I mean, this because you've done several competitions. It's a mental. It's like best way I can say it's a mental roller coaster, and I've never experienced this. I've never dieted for this long and tried to take my body to this measure before. I mean, it's my first competition, so it's like the mental game's really the struggle. And I'm really motivated. Like, the closer I get, like, it sounds crazy. I'm ready to cut my carbs because I'm ready to just, I don't know, I'm ready to do it. I'm super motivated and excited just to, I guess, just see how it all goes.
Yeah, you ready to crawl through the muck and go through the last month?
Yeah, it's the nitty gritty. I mean, that's like, I do my cardio at night. That's when, just like for me, it's at home. I have I wish I had a stair stepper here at home, but I got an elliptical, and it does.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I know. Actually, I'm moving in like a week, and I'm moving across from the gym, so it's like I'll be able to walk over there and just.
Oh, nice!
I know, it's gonna be really, and like that's one of the reasons. Like, one of the reasons I waited to get a guide dog, is so I could, because I can't walk anywhere where I live now. It's just basically the middle of nowhere. I'm 15 minutes from the gym, but it's a super long way to anywhere. So like, now I'll be able to walk to the gym, and my dog, I'll be able to, it'll be really cool. It'll be really cool.
That's really rad. Yeah, and you'll be able to train the dog in a situation where it's walking all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Like, I didn't want to get a dog, and I mean, I do use my cane every day, but it's just like I don't need to walk like long distance. Like, this will be a mile walk like every day,
That's really rad. I can't wait to see that part of the channel as well, to see how you adapt with the dog.
Yeah, I go up to New York for 3 weeks, so that's gonna be really cool.
Nice.
It's gonna be
awesome.
Interesting.
Okay, so cool. I wanted to address the bodybuilding show, because I know that's the most close-up event that's happening with you, and I wanted to cover that because I think it's really interesting. But I wanted to ask you some other questions about just you in general.
Okay.
So what's your plans for the future? Just however you want to answer that. Like, what do you want to do with your life?
Oh, okay, great. Really good. Okay, so another thing, I kind of like, I don't know how I've missed. So here recently, some guy found me on Instagram, and he was born with a condition where he's blind in one eye. So we have something kind of in common. We both are visually impaired, and we both, we're on the same page and in some kind of way. But I'm gonna here recently, this is actually in the near future. I actually already got my speech typed up. I'm gonna start doing some public speaking, and
nice.
Yeah. So I'll have a video out on YouTube at some point within the next probably month to 2 months. I mean, it'll probably be 30 to 45 minutes, but it'll be me basically practicing my speech before I go out and do it in front of people. But that is actually one idea and one thing that I'm really interested in, because I think everybody has a unique story, and so my story is unique, and I think it could impact people in some sort of way, and not everybody's going to go blind, and that's what I say, but we're all going to be faced with challenges. So I think public speaking will be really fun. I never would have seen myself doing that, but I think I really think it's gonna be fun. But I'll be able to travel, which will bring good. That's one goal that I have, is to start traveling. especially when I get my
Nice.
dog. When I get my dog, I'll be able to travel. Like, for example, like I really want to travel and come out there and like just hang out with you, work out with you. That'd be really, really awesome. Some cool
Hell
content
yeah.
and just be fun in general. So like I want to start traveling, and if the public speaking thing, like the way he describes it is, I'll go like somewhere probably 2 to 3 times a month, and they like it's I'll be traveling and I'll do about 2 or 3 speeches a month, and then of course the other time is focusing on what I love, bodybuilding, and that's kind of the goal. Right now that's one of the bigger plans, as well as just I think that's one of my directions that I want to go in, and it'll bring
Dude,
good content. And I really want to, what allows me, if it allows me to travel, and I can still do what I love with bodybuilding and compete, and as well, I really think I would, I think I'll fall in love with public speaking, especially if I can tell my story and then interact with the crowd. Like that last step, I really like doing Q&As and stuff with the live crowd would be, I think it'd be really fun, really awesome.
Right, absolutely, man. It really is. It's incredible public speaking. I think you have the right personality, and obviously you have the right story for it. And yeah, I think you probably don't even realize that the way you address everything that you have is inspirational just in itself. So by speaking about your story, just that in itself is going to help so many people. And yeah, I think you're going to really feel that appreciation that comes from the crowd and really get addicted to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's honestly what I'm thinking. And like, I don't know, when I wouldn't say hesitant, because when he called, I was getting really excited, and then we got on the phone, and he just kind of helped me lay out the basis and the structure of my speech. And then a couple nights ago, I sat down for like 4 or 5 hours and started typing up my speech. And when I started typing it up and going and like hitting on these key points, it, no pun intended, but it opened my eyes, because there's so many things over the past year and a half, and things that are still going to happen that are, it's relatable to you can relate it to just about anything, any struggle, any challenge, and I think, just like you're saying, I really think it can help some people.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's the reason why I like having you on the channel, is because you offer a different perspective where you can help people in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
but with the same kind of a positive outlook that a lot of us are trying to spin out there to people. That's awesome, man. I'm really glad to hear that.
I appreciate it.
One question that I thought would be kind of interesting for you to answer is, what's one thing that seemed really difficult when you first had gone blind, like something that you thought was just going to be really difficult to do that now you're able to do, that you're kind of proud of because it just seemed like it was going to be out of range?
Well, one would be, I can have kind of two. One that really makes sense is just in the one of the biggest examples, and we're on YouTube right now, so creating content. I can,
Yeah, no doubt.
like that's like the video I'm uploading tomorrow. It's I told you it's gonna be something like what it's like going blind at 20 years old, and like if you watch this video and then the first video I uploaded is sometime, it'll be a year ago this month, I think, in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like my channel will be a year old just about when I'm competing, which is kind of awesome. So this, like, just the amount of improvement that I've done to my editing. Like, I think this video is going to be really, I mean, it's nothing, like NISTAC quality, cinematic, like crazy, but, I'm limited, but what I can still do, it's like I edit, just every video that I upload is, my editing, for the most part. Like, if there is some kind of, if there is videos that have videos on top of videos, I might have to get help, but for the most part, every single video I edit, and I never would imagined I could do the things I do on the computer without being able to see. It's like, it's pretty amazing. But that's one thing, and then the next thing, which is really, I actually noticed this kind of yesterday, and writing out my speech helped me realize this as well, is just walking. So when I started losing my sight, one of the biggest phases of denial of losing my sight, like, for the most part, I try to say I stayed positive, and I would always say that my eyesight's not going to go anymore. It's not going to get any worse. But it did, of course, it did. And I, you can say that was staying positive, but you can also say that was me denying the fact that I was gonna keep losing my sight. Because when it came to using a stick, well, I just call it a stick. I know the proper term is a walking cane or something, a long cane, but I just call it my blind stick. But that thing, the first time I got that thing, dude, this lady came in my house. Well, they asked me if I wanted one. And I was like, no, I don't need it. I don't need that. I don't, and I don't want to walk around with this stick. And like, it's just like, that's weird. And then I eventually, like 2 weeks after I said that, I'm like, I really need this thing. And then I just kind of manned up. I got one. And when the first time the lady brought it out, she's like, okay, this is your blind, this is a white long walking cane. And she unfolded it. And this thing's 52 inches. And I'm like, whoa, this thing's long.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's really long. And like, I was messing around with it. I'm like, in my house, I'm like, this is just weird. Like, and she basically showed me the basics of using it. And she's like, I want you to just start using it and get used to it and familiar. Well, I mean, when I first got that thing, it was really weird. I didn't trust it, but now, like, I trust me. Like, when I go, like, for instance, I had to go to the Apple store yesterday. And my dad's like, you can just hold on my elbow, but, it's called a sighted guide. You can hold someone's elbow and walk really fast. Like, maybe at a concert, there are places where that's, makes sense. But for the most part, now, like, if I don't, like, I would rather use my cane. Like, I trust that thing so much. Like, I have been to the gym and I left it at home, and you talk about, like, I don't even know, it's the most empty feeling ever. I feel so lost without it, because you can't walk around without it. It's crazy how we pick up on things, and that using that now it amazes me how well I can navigate just by using a 52-inch, and it doesn't feel nearly as weird. It's like it's second nature.
Isn't it crazy how as a human being you can observe something for so long? Like, you saw those blind sticks forever when you're growing up, but you never even thought about it. You never really thought about how it could even work as a human. And then once you get used to it, even after all that, trying to deny it and not use it and stuff, eventually you used it, and then you found out that it actually is extremely useful.
Yeah, and just like like you're saying, like kids, I mean, I think it's funny. Kids sometimes they'll be with their parents, and I'll be in a store like Walmart, and Mommy, what is that? And it's like, and I mean, I knew what it is growing up, and even when I started losing my sight, I when I started looking into kind of getting one, I looked up I knew what it was, like you're saying, but I didn't have how can that possibly work,
Exactly.
And now it's like I can't, I can't live without it. Even when I get a dog, I still have to have that. That's just a necessity.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier, like, that you could confuse positivity with just a denying of the fact that you're going blind. That brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. Did you ever have a point while you were going blind, or when you had first gone blind, where you were dealing with any sort of a depression? And if you did, what helped you through it? What would you say to people who are depressed in a similar kind of a situation?
Okay, so I definitely, and with me, I definitely did. And if anybody says they don't, I'm not going to say you're lying, but it's just, for me, I kept it inside. It's not like I showcased it. It's not like but there would be times when, when my eyesight, one of the biggest things was like a month and a half after I had to stop driving. And speaking of denial, I drove way longer than I ever should drove. Way longer. Like, I kind of, I don't know. I look back and I'm like, why would you ever do that? Like, I put myself in danger. I put other people in danger because I drove to a point, like, just here's an example. When they tested the doctor didn't believe how blind I was going. And when she tested it, my left eye at that point, when she told me, the day I stopped driving, was 400/20. That's how bad my left, that's how bad my left eye was. And that day I was going to meet my mom at her work. So, driving was a very hard thing, and it's still kind of, there's still slumps, but that was one of the most difficult. And the main thing, I was in college. I came home, and back home, I still don't have many so-called friends around where I live. It's mostly family, and then people like you that I've met through YouTube and through this journey that I've started, which, it's all about, that's what it's all about, and I'm moving forward. And when I would get down, it's kind of crazy. I just got out of a relationship when this all started, like when I moved home. And that was also very, I couldn't drive, and I would Snapchat. I'd see Snapchats of her out with her friends, and I couldn't really, I couldn't drive. And for a relationship, that's pretty tough for someone not to be able to drive. Well, especially the male. And so that was really difficult.
Absolutely.
And then, but whenever I would get down about things, like when I look in the fridge and get so frustrated, like really frustrated, it was nothing but anger, because I would get in there and I'd be looking for this one item, because when when we're cooking, we need something, we gotta get it in the pantry, the fridge. I get so frustrated, and I would be at my mom's house and she'd be at work and it's just me, and it would be so frustrating. And the best way there, is just to kind of take a step back and realize the best thing to realize is there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, there is, but there's nothing you can do to make your sight come back. And I mean, there's ways you can get around the problem and make a solution for the problem. But it was very frustrating. And for me, the gym was exactly that. The gym was the outlet. Bodybuilding was my outlet. I was working in a restaurant for a little bit, like up until October, and they worked with me, and that was great, just because a few, like 4 nights a week, I'd go into work, and it was just something to do. It just got me out of the house. So that just kind of kept my mind off things. And then bodybuilding was it. Through the day, that's what I did. I just would focus on what I needed to do. And there would be times where I wouldn't want to get up in the morning. I would just want to sleep in, wake up, eat, and go to the gym. Not want to get up early and be productive or do anything productive, because what would I do? It's not like I'm driving anywhere. It's not like I can do anything else. And that was, bodybuilding was it. And then starting up a YouTube channel, because, then again, I stay busy. When I stay busy, it doesn't give me time to be down on something, and that's one thing, like you're saying, if I have to, for someone else out there in a circumstance that kind of gets them down on life, or, makes them depressed, I think staying busy and finding something you're passionate about is very important, because for me, bodybuilding is it. I'm super passionate about it. I love it. I love going in the gym and lifting heavyweight. It's what I really enjoy doing. I love, and also on the YouTube side of things, I really enjoy creating content. And I'm busy now, and I don't really have. I don't give myself time to get down and think about things, but it still does happen. And I think that it's impossible to be perfect, and there's no way to get around that.
Yeah, no, but I think that's really good advice. Finding a passion can make any problem seem small, because whatever that problem was that you're dealing with, it is so unimportant because of all your attention is being consumed by this passion that you've found. So I think that's a perfect piece of advice right there for anybody who's dealing with any sort of an issue where you feel like you're incapable of doing something that you want to do, or you have some sort of problem that you're facing that's causing you to be depressed. Find that outlet that you can become obsessed with, because it will help you. Even if you can't get rid of the other problems, it'll help you have something to focus on that is extremely positive while you're dealing with something that maybe in your head is negative at the time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, don't run from the problem. That's like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
If you, instead of running from it and kind of putting it on the back burner, you can just kind of go head on with it and, face the challenge, and things it'll definitely be better in the long run.
Definitely. The last question I wanted to ask is another question about some advice. What advice would you give to someone who is going blind or is brand new blind right now?
Okay, so the best thing I can say is, just like I just said, don't run from the problem, and start learning how to live life all over again, because that is exactly what we have to do. You have to learn how to cook. For me, I cook most of the time in the pan, and also realize that just because you're going blind, just because you're visually impaired, or you may have already gone blind, it doesn't mean you're going to be limited. Now, you do have to have some self-awareness. You're not going to be able to go and, I like to use the example, I can't be a pilot or I can't be a NASCAR driver unless something berserk happens. But for the most part, you can still do anything that you want to do, anything. And that is, it is what it is. there's ways around it all. Technology is super amazing. Apple has voiceover. Like, there's so much technology out there, and there's when you get down and when you're learning, because you have to learn a lot of new things, like learning how to get dressed again, learning what how to cook again, and all these different things. Just the best thing is to not get frustrated at yourself, which is really going to be the hardest part, and figuring out when you run into a problem. You run into problems and you'll say to yourself, I wouldn't have this problem if I could simply see. I say that all the time. Like, if I could simply see, I wouldn't have this problem. But that's not going to fix it. You have to look at the problem and say, okay, I can't see, but how can I still find a solution to make this work for me? And there's all kinds of ways, just like Braille, just like voiceover for technology. And in the kitchen, there's these little bumps, you can label things. There's so much out there, and there's so many, and you can just come up with your own ways. Just like I literally found a way to edit videos. I just thought about how can I make this work for me, and how can I make the workflow productive and still be effective. And that's what you have to do, rather than getting frustrated and frustrated at the world and saying, why me? Why did I lose my sight? Why did this have to happen to me? You can, look at the problem and say, even though I lost my sight, even though I am visually impaired or blind, there's going to be a solution to the problem. So,
nice. I like that a lot, man. I really like that.
It definitely, there's a lot. There was, for me, especially since for me it was so slow. It was 6 months. You can look at it saying that's slow or fast. Some people wake up and the next day they're blind. For me, it's 6 months. And that's good and bad to a point, because like I said, I was almost in a denial / I didn't think it was going to get any worse, and then it did, and it did cause a lot of frustration. Which now I don't really, very rarely do I ever get frustrated at something. It's just something I've improved on. Patience, Danielson. So yeah, patience. Yeah, someone actually commented on my Instagram, and I love this. It's the 3 P's. It's patience, persistence, and perseverance. And that's, that really, you use the 3 P's and you can definitely get through it.
That's true, man. That really is true. All right, yeah, so that's it for this. I really wanted to put Justin on the channel again because I wanted to follow up, get a little bit more in depth with him and ask some more questions that kind of dig a little bit deeper, but also he has this bodybuilding competition that is coming up in a couple of weeks, so I wanted to put him on blast, feature him so that you guys could see, and so that hopefully you guys can go over there and support him, because I think it's going to be epic seeing him on stage. When all the context that's going around the situation, I think it's really inspiring and stuff. So if you want to check him out, his link will be the first thing below this video. Click it, go watch a couple pieces. If you like it, make sure that you subscribe to him. He's badass. I really like him. I really want you guys to support him. So thank you guys, and thank you, Justin. I really appreciate you being on the channel, man.
I appreciate you having me back on here. I really enjoy it. And hopefully, like I was saying, 2018, I gotta come out there and see you. Well, meet you.
I want it, man. I want to do it.
Won't see too much.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Team Beyond the Week, CD.